Hello, my name is Cindy. Thank you so much for coming to this channel. So this channel has a lot of videos about teachers, about teaching, education, and what teachers do in their free time. And one thing I like to do in my free time is to make videos. So thank you for coming to this channel. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing to my channel. So I like to talk to you about different choices for education. And today I'm going to talk to you about why I quit teaching at the public school after my student teaching experience. So, yeah, it's been a little while. A few years ago, I was a student teacher. And when you go to college for 3 years and you're so anxious for that time where you get to do your student teaching, it's so exciting. You work so hard. And for me, I majored in math education, and I was really excited to teach students math. And getting to the education, the student teacher phase of the whole program was the ultimate. Like, it's just so something that you look forward to the whole time that you're doing all of your college classes. So I got assigned to a public school that in South Carolina, and I hadn't been to schools in South Carolina, so I didn't know what it would be like, and I was really looking forward to it. The school that I got assigned to was a public school in South Carolina. And I hadn't been to school in South Carolina, so I didn't really know what it would be like. So I was really getting excited about it. And I walked in on my first day, and this started my dislike of the public school system. So I walked in, and this teacher, I was so excited to learn all kinds of great things from this wonderful teacher. And I walked in, and this teacher really didn't have anything on her bulletin boards. She didn't have any kind of excitement. This was going to be 6th, 7th, and 8th grades that I was going to teach math and English. And I walked in, and she had a table with papers piled up, like 5 piles of papers, just like a foot tall. And so she had already been teaching only like a month, and she already had all kinds of papers that hadn't been graded. She didn't have anything on the bulletin boards. So then I, quickly figured out that I was the one that was going to save the day. So this is my first reason why I quit the public schools after student teaching. It was quite an overwhelming experience to walk into a seasoned teacher's classroom and have nothing ready, and she had nothing prepared to help me ease myself into the classroom. I had to walk in and basically do her job. So I was newly married. I'd only been married a few months, and every night I would take home bags of papers, because at that time I thought you had to grade every single paper. And so I wanted to do right by the students, right? So I brought all those papers home. I can remember the teacher telling me, my husband would be really mad if I took all those papers home. I was like, oh yeah, my husband loves it. Well, then I realized, okay, in order to spruce up this room, I'm going to have to do the bulletin boards. So I went to work on that. And of course, I had to do it on a budget because nobody gave me any supplies or anything like that. So I was in charge of that too. Then after just a few days, I don't know, it felt like only a few days, I was the teacher. I had to start teaching. But it wasn't really that hard, because this teacher, all she did was write the assignment on the board, and the kids would do the assignment, bring it up to her, get it corrected, and she'd send it back with corrections. And we would do that, 4 or 5 times for each student. And that was all our day consisted of. We didn't really explain anything. We just put the assignment on the board. It was pretty lame. So that was the math class. They had a book for that. But then it came to English class. There was no book, no resources. Of course, back then we didn't have computers. So I had to make up curriculum for English too. So that was really exciting. So the first thing was, my teacher didn't really teach me anything. And at the time I was afraid to tell anyone, because I didn't want to, I didn't want to get out of that class and then not have a class to teach, and then I wouldn't get my student teaching in. So I kind of kept it to myself, and it's been quite a few years, so now I'm letting the cat out of the bag. My teacher didn't really teach me anything, but good thing for me, I had a lot of experience teaching all kinds of other things, and so I feel like I learned a lot just because I was there, I did the work, and I got the experience of being in a classroom. So I felt like I did get experience, but it wasn't quite what I had in mind. Number 2, the curriculum was lame. The books were not very good. The teaching experience wasn't very good, and the English books were non-existent. So fortunately for me, I had a really good background in English, so we had a great time. We taught all kinds of things about writing. I also did speeches with them. We did persuasive speeches, and we memorized some poems and things like that. So I had a really good background in my education, so I'm really glad that I could share that with the students. But I thought it was kind of lame that my teacher didn't really give me any help on what to do. She just basically threw me in there and I had to do the work. I think she was using it as, her own little vacation. So this teacher also had told me she got her degree at 40 years old, and she was kind of just coasting along, I think, until she could retire. I don't know how old she is. She seemed kind of old to me at the time. She might have been like 50 or something like that. So I don't think she was retirement age, but she was definitely slowing down. So anyway, I felt like in this public school, the kids had no motivation. Like, they weren't excited about anything. They weren't excited about learning. And some of the students actually told me that they didn't really have to learn anything because they were just going to go work in the factory where their parents work. So they weren't really that excited about learning. So that was kind of a disappointment. So the next thing is the parents were not really supportive. So if the kids were misbehaving, we would send a little report home, and the kids would tell me, it doesn't really matter, my parents just sleep on the couch. They might sign it, but they're not really going to care. So that's kind of sad that the kids had parents who didn't challenge them, didn't really encourage them in any way. The kids were kind of there on their own. So that was really sad. But there wasn't anything I could do about it. Another thing that I really didn't like was the silent lunch. So I taught junior high, and the kids would go to lunch and they weren't allowed to talk at all. And I understand, kids can talk, they get loud and they get excited and it's hard to control them. But instead of trying to keep it down, they just told them they couldn't talk at all. So that was really sad too, that they always did silent lunch. So there would be like 1 or 2 teachers watching all the students with their silent lunch, and then all the other teachers were in the teacher's room, and they would stay in there and they would just gossip. They would talk about the students, say derogatory things about the students. I remember, of course, I was really young and I was excited about teaching and I couldn't wait to get in the classroom, and they're telling me, well, these kids are junior high, they're brain dead, we're lucky if they get through the day, like we don't have to really expect much from them. So that really made me sad too. It was kind of depressing. So here I was, excited about teaching, and all of these things were happening, and it just really made it a not so good experience. So then the other thing that was really disappointing was the teacher would, for the daily work, the teacher would have them do it, correct it, do it, correct it, do it, correct it. And then when it came to test time, they would do the same thing. They would pass out the test, have the kids take the test, correct it, pass it back. They would correct it again, pass it back, correct it again, until all the students got A's and B's. So when it came to report cards, everybody got A's and B's. But I really didn't feel like that was honest, because I knew that they had taken the tests several times. So that was kind of a disappointment too. It's like, Are we being honest about their grades, or what are we actually doing? So the last thing that I have to say is there was very little backup from the administration. So if you had a problem in the classroom with a student, there was really nothing you could do about it. Sending them to the principal's office didn't really work. And it was kind of unfortunate that there was hardly any backup for discipline problems. So those are the things that really turned me off to working in the public school. And of course, everything in the news kind of scared me from it. So my journey of teaching took me out of the public school and into private school teaching. I've taught at Christian schools, I've homeschooled, and I've worked with co-ops. I've worked part-time for Christian schools. And right now I am working at a Christian school, and 2 of my kids are still in school, and they go to school there while I teach. I teach math, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And I'm happy to say that these problems that I was having at the public school, I don't have them at the Christian school. And I'm really glad that I can actually teach math, and I can help the students learn, and I can kind of motivate them to do their work. And I'm really thankful and happy where I am teaching. And I'm really kind of sad that I had such a bad teaching experience with the student teaching, but I did pass my course, and I graduated from college with a math education degree. And after college, I went right into working as a secretary at a real estate office because I didn't want to go to the public school, and I didn't have a Christian school that I was working at. Sometimes you have to get a little bit less pay at the Christian school, so that could be a little bit of a disadvantage. But I worked at the real estate office for 3 years after I graduated, and then I had new experiences to get into later on. And I'll make a video about that another time. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.